Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Awareness Podcast. I'm Bill Free, and I'm happy to be your host this week. And this is the month of December. And while you're listening and watching this podcast, I am traveling in India with Lisa Natoli. We're visiting some of the famous, well-known areas of Ramana Maharshi's ashram, Aranashala. We're going to visit the Taj Mahal, and then we're going to go north to New Delhi, and we're going to visit Rishikesh and the Beatles ashram up there. This will be a mystical journey that we're on. We're really going with the intention of just allowing the memory of the great teachers that came from the East over to the West. Yogananda, Nisargadatta, Ramana Maharshi, all of those guys and more. They brought the truth to the United States before we were really ready for it. And it's my joy today to share with you while we're traveling in India. Someone that is she's not in India, she's in Holland right now, and many of you have known Neda Boin. She's been in she's been in our conferences. Last time she was at the End of Seeking conference, she had her own presentation spot because she is a upcoming amazing teacher. I mean, she's been we met Neda as a song artist, beautiful voice expressing the words of truth in song, and through the teaching of A Course in Miracles. And she also has developed this gift, this voice liberation process that is I've been hearing about. I've been watching people, watching their testimonies, and learning more about it. And as I was thinking about who I wanted to have for our last podcast of the year for 2022, and someone that has really shown up to have just a full heart and love for truth, the love of Course in Miracles, and the love of awakening. And I thought of Neda, and I just wanted to share her with you. And Neda, thank you for being on this podcast, and thank you for being here.
Aw, yay, Bill. That was so beautiful. My heart is just full. That's
Uh,
beautiful. Thank
uh,
you so much for having me. It's always so much fun to see you and to join with you, talk with you. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, Neda, before we get into our conversation, I'm just going to give a little snippet from your About Me page. And you can reach Neda at Neda Boin, Nedaboin, nedaboin.com. And as I said, she's in Holland. But she travels. She gets around a lot. She comes to the U.S. I think she's going to Bali next week, and she's really makes herself available to the world community. And Neda is a singer-songwriter with half Dutch, half Persian roots. She's born and raised in the Netherlands, and she started writing songs from when she was a little kid and learned how it was a great way to communicate her message. When she was 17 years old, she wrote a song about HIV and AIDS, which brought her to Kenya, where she performed in slums, orphanages, and uh, what's the Maasai tribe?
The
The
Maasai
Maasai
tribe,
tribe?
that's
Yeah.
they're kind of famous now. They have like the red scarves and stuff. They can jump really high. It's now I think it now became a very touristic spot, but it used to
Oh,
be like a really yeah, desolate tribe in a very yeah, rural area in Kenya, but they're beautiful. It's like a beautiful community that, at least when I was there, lived like without any internet or electricity, and we went there and they performed for us and we performed for them, and we had like a open conversation about sex and about HIV, and really to break through the taboos and the yeah, really using music as a communication tool.
Hmm. Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, again, a few years later, she hitchhiked from the Netherlands all the way down to South Africa to raise awareness around topics such as child labor, gender equality, education, and sustainable farming. After she came back, she started giving workshops in juvenile prison, which to this day she still does with great passion. And Neda, I think it's amazing that you have such a heart for all of these important elements of or trappings and
Mm.
that we fall into, and also to reach people that are in prisons, and they got drawn into the traps that the ego mindset sets up so skillfully
Mm.
for
Mm.
humanity. And to have a heart for that, I think it just really commends who you are. And I want to thank you for the service that you give the world through your not just through your voice, but through for a beautiful woman like yourself to go visit prisons. That's amazing. Because first of all, the guys are going to first be attracted by the bodysuit. But then when they hear what you have to say, they're going to be attracted to the
Mm.
content of what you're saying.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I experienced that myself. I mean, I just did a concert in Colombia in the prison, and it was just so amazing. It was a small group of guys, a few women also for the first time that it was mixed. And I learned Spanish as well a couple of years ago. So I translated my mantras. I have these Course in Miracles inspired mantras. I translated them into Spanish. So I have this one beautiful mantra that says, "You are worthy," or first, actually, "I am worthy." So I sing it together with them. And it was like really like they were all singing along and making eye contact. I'm kind of used to, even in spiritual retreats or stuff, that people are a little bit uncomfortable with looking you in the eye and they'll look on the ground. But they were all like from the first song basically, really looking me in the eye, making eye contact. And I still felt it this mantra wasn't like they weren't singing as loud as the other ones, and I felt it's because it's just such a deep topic, this I am worthy. It's because we don't believe that is that we end up in prison, whether whether it's physically literally in prison or mentally in prison, like seeing this whole life as prison. It's because of this belief that we're not worthy, that we're guilty, that we end up, right, being unhappy and having this call for love on a daily basis. So I changed the mantra to "You are worthy," and we started. I invited them to look each other in the eye, but it ended up being just me looking them one by one in the eye, and it was so amazing. Everybody started to cry. So one by one, we just looked at each other and we sang for each other, "You are worthy. You are worthy." And then the last guy that I sang it for, he sang it for me as well. And I could just feel like he was about to really, really break down. So I just kept looking at him. And in my mind, it was just like I could feel the spirit saying, this is really undoing all the unworthiness, and like removing the blocks, all the beliefs of unworthiness. And this is what happens during the voice liberation classes as well. This is the power of the voice, and it goes to those frequencies of, these blocks of unworthiness. They have a certain vibration, and I feel the voice goes there to just erase those blocks. And we looked at each other, And at a certain point, he just completely broke down, tears and tears and tears. And we just kept singing, and it was just so beautiful. And then at the end of the day, I learned that that was his last day in prison. So after years of being in prison, his final day, I thought that was so symbolic, that his final day in prison ended with this "I am worthy, you are worthy" moment. I thought it was just so beautiful and such a symbol of how we don't leave this world. We don't leave prison, by death or by, anything else. We leave it by remembering how worthy we are, how loved we are, that we never separated from God, from source. So yeah, it was just I still feel so inspired just talking about it. So
Yeah. Cool.
they're my teachers too. I don't feel like I'm just doing them a favor. I feel like I learn when I'm with them. I get to accept it myself as well. This teaching of love. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're my teachers.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Well, there's
Yeah.
the idea of sharing the truth and also uh, presenting a space where healing can occur. Everyone benefits.
Yeah.
Because there's only one presence. There's only
Yep.
one I am. And
Yeah,
when
exactly.
someone connects with that, it's connecting to the one source that everything arises and falls by. Everything comes and goes, and that presence and that power and that connectedness remains as it always is, and we are that.
Mm,
Yeah.
beautiful.
But I know that we just had the conference in September, and we you had your voice liberation sessions, and I've noticed since then. I'm not sure when it went up on your website for your voice liberation. You have a voice liberation course that people can take part in. They can learn about it. They can watch testimonies of people that have had gone through the voice liberation. Uh, I haven't done the voice liberation experience, but I'm intrigued of the power of healing that is within it. Can you tell us a little bit about the voice liberation? What is it?
Yeah, so when I say voice liberation, a lot of people like often the first thought is like, oh, but I can't sing, and there's this instant disconnection between, oh, then it's about singing and voice liberation. Really, it's not a singing class. It's not about singing beautifully. It's really about using the voice as a tool to reach the unconscious blocks that are, like A Course in Miracles says, it's not our task to seek for love, but it is our task to seek and find all the barriers within ourselves that we placed against the love, that we are actually, and with the voice, again, I don't know exactly what happens, but the moment that we allow our voice to take over basically and lead us inwards, it is just so easy for unconscious blocks, patterns, even past lives, trauma to come up to the surface where when we're just talking about it, it doesn't go as deep. But when we allow our voice to give expression to the pain, to the hurt, sometimes in retreats, we do this exercise where I put two people in front of each other and I allow them first to just share in words about something that is still really painful for them. And I really allow them to talk about it, not in a like a mental chit-chattery way, but very meditative and going deeper and unpacking and the other person is holding space. But at a certain moment, I invite them to stop talking and only share through sound. No words, just feel where is this pain in my body? Where does this pain live inside of me? Where does this grievance live inside of me? Inhale into that grievance, into that hurt, wherever you feel it, wherever it's present for you, and exhale in whatever sound wants to come up and out, whether it's very soft, whether it's very loud, whether there's cries or shouts or whatever it is. And I always see that the moment that we let go of the words and they go into this sound expression, it is just so much deeper than where the words can take them. You know, they really go into the experience and they go to the core of where this pain lives inside of them. Because and I feel it kind of has to do with the fact that the moment that we get into this state of really releasing these blocks through sound, we can't mentally join there. You know, the ego can't come with us because it's with the words there's still this sort of control. Like I know this language, but when we give the voice the steering wheel, so to say, it all becomes like unknown territory. Like we can't control it, and I think that's how it gets so deep, and how we can get to that unconscious part where the root of our trauma and our pain and our suffering really lies. So I always see the voice as if it's like a giant flashlight. How A Course in Miracles says, don't be afraid to look within. You know, I go there with you and I see the voice as this giant flashlight that just helps us to really find and release these unconscious blocks. So yeah, it's just amazing.
Mhm. I, I, I'm impressed with your not knowing and still witnessing the verification of the healing that takes place from this place, this placeless place, and also with the understanding that the ego cannot understand voice. It because it's
Hmm.
beyond concepts. It's beyond the conditioned mind of memory, and so it seems like you're being gifted this apparatus, this healing ability of where consciousness is really using your skills and your openness to open people to the areas of their unconscious guilt or the unconscious beliefs or unconscious residue. And I don't think it has to be located in the body. I think it can be located in memory. And
Yeah,
often the memory will go to a body part where trauma
yeah.
may have some residual. But I'm going next week to UCLA to interview Professor Donald Hoffman. He's the professor of cognitive studies at UCLA, and I was preparing for his this interview for the Awakening Mind documentary that I'm working on with another group of our team. And I was listening to Donald talk about in his early days at UCLA, he taught a psychology class, and he said he remembered teaching this class of about 500 students in the early days that 99% of our memory is unconscious, or 99% of what goes on in consciousness or in our consciousness is um, is is unconscious, and we only use about 1%. And I find that interesting in line with your voice liberation, because that's where consciousness picks up and is completely connected to that 99%.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like, and this is just my theory about voice liberation and why it's so effective, is because you're gifted with this intimate connection with the course, with also with seeing the evidence of voice liberation, and you're able to open a space by asking people, like when you set up that sort of that dyad experience of two people, and they're able to share. So it opens up the heart, and it sets an intention for healing. And then you're inviting them to use their voice to locate that unconscious, wherever, that unconscious guilt or that unconscious shame or that some kind of unconscious trauma that is hiding, or even the unconscious identification as a person instead of a being, instead of a presence, instead of what we would call spirit. Instead of that, so now you've brought them to the essence of their I am, that is now collaborating with their memory, or with that residue, or with that unconscious experience that's hidden, and you're able to help them to be liberated from this thing that they're not even aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that
Yeah.
my
Good.
theory, and I can't wait to meet. If
Good
I have time, I'm going to
description.
ask Donald to tell me what's going on there, and if he gives me something that's worth
Beautiful.
repeating, I'll send you an email and we'll talk again.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I think there's also a lot in resonance, that I think if I once read also of this enlightened beings that see us as harmonies, and as sort of like huge walking chords almost, like we're like a symphony. And like everything, our joy, our sadness, every emotion has a vibrancy, has a frequency. You can see it as, yeah, like a chord on the piano. And I think when, I think when we get in touch with what is the frequency of this block, and that's something we don't have to do mentally, but I think that's what happens as well, is that when we have this intention of like, okay, I want to use the voice um, for the purpose of healing, then the voice knows the way. And I think the voice connects with whatever frequency is stuck and releases it by singing that frequency, by releasing that frequency from our mind, from our body, from our experience. So I think it has something to do with that as well, that we can actually sing these frequencies and set them free, and that's how, yeah, I think that's how people have these amazing experiences where, yeah, I just, yeah, you read the testimonials that there's just so many people that say like, oh my God, I didn't know all of this stuff was there, or this, yeah, there's so many people that have these profound experiences. And I think it has to do with that, that our thinking mind, especially also in A Course in Miracles world, and just in general in the spiritual communities, we can contemplate and think and listen, and it becomes so intellectual, right? And you can have a beautiful experience. Sometimes I can listen to someone and my heart opens But I think with voice liberation, it's just super easy. Like it's rare that someone doesn't have a very heart opening, amazing experience. Um, even if they, even today, I had to do a shoot for a voice liberation workshop I'm giving here in Rotterdam, and I shared a bit of just liberating my own voice in the moment, just sharing the frequencies, whatever wanted to come up and out. And the woman who was filming was just sitting in front of me. And after I was done, she was like completely in tears, and she's like, "Whoa, I felt the resonance all through my body, and it was doing so much for me." And I always say during the workshops as well, like, you don't even have to sing yourself. Like, my voice is your voice. Like you said, like, we're all one. There's not a you and a me. So even you just connecting with my voice, I can do the work, like it's your voice. Like, it's not, you don't even have to do it yourself. Like, it even goes so far that I've seen during my voice liberation sessions, there have been a lot of people that maybe also because of neighbors or whatever, they felt like they couldn't join physically themselves. And I just invited them. It's perfectly fine. Just connect with my voice. Know that that's your voice. And even them, they had these profound experiences. So I don't know. It's super interesting, but yeah, there's something there.
Yeah, yeah, it is very interesting. Well, when you have your workshops and
hmm
you're inviting people to sort of set an intention, what is that? What does that look like?
Well, we usually start indeed with setting the intention and meditation. And for me, that always entails to invite the spirit to take over the session. I never really prepare. Sometimes it can happen that before a session, I get these downloads of exercises, a lot of times for retreats as well. I do these seemingly complicated exercises, and they come in sometimes in a moment or sometimes just an hour before, where I just, yeah, it feels like a download where I get exactly like a script almost of like how the exercise should go. um, but for me, early on, I really realized, like, okay, it's not something that I am doing. It's really, I got so comfortable with stepping back and letting spirit lead the way. Um, so the beginning in the workshops and the retreats is always, okay, connect with what is your purpose for being here, and this can be anything. Um, um, but usually I invite them during the session. We go into true forgiveness as taught by A Course in Miracles. So I invite them to look at, yeah, whatever grievance or situation in their life that still feels difficult or painful, that, they feel that is holding them from just living freely and happily. And we dive deeper into that. And ultimately, it's all the same. We know from A Course in Miracles, there's only one problem and one solution. The problem being the belief that we think we could separate ourselves from God, and the solution is that could never that could never happen, right? So even
Yeah.
if it seems as if there's like 1,000 different problems and situations, it's always, yeah, just a backdrop for healing. So we take what I always say, come as you are, whatever comes up for you. And even during the sessions, it's always perfect. That's how I start always as well, to just check in with your feelings, see, hey, what did you bring to this session? What thoughts, what feelings did you bring to this session? Because often we think, like, maybe something difficult happened this morning. Maybe I had a fight or an argument with my boyfriend or whatever, and I still feel this tension. And now I come into this workshop and I think, like, oh, I'm not supposed to have this tension. Let me park that for a moment and let me focus on this workshop. And I'm always like, no, whatever is going on for you right now, know that that's the perfect, the perfect classroom for you in this moment. So actually invite it. like the beautiful poem from Rumi, the guest house, right? Like being human is like a guest house. Like every day a new guest arrives, like a sadness and anger, or invite them all. So I always say, like give them all a seat, welcome them. They're part of this workshop. Don't pretend like they're not there. Actually, because that's what the ego wants. The ego wants to push away these difficult feelings. And with voice liberation, we actually go there. And whatever comes up next, maybe especially if it's not online, if it's like a live workshop, there's thoughts about, oh, I just shared my voice. Oh, what is my neighbor now thinking of me? Does my voice sounded all cracked up? Or, and it brings up these emotions and these shames and all of this stuff, where, as little children, singing, it was just so naturally, right? The little kids, they know the healing power of the voice. They scream when they're in pain, and it's just so natural. But then there comes this point where when we get older, that it's like, okay, you have to behave, be a good girl, be a good boy, and this natural expression, this authentic expression, it goes away. And so in the sessions, I always invite people to stay present with what comes up, and know that with every next exhale, when we're releasing these sounds, it's okay. What comes up now? You've just let out a sound. Maybe there's a new thought that came in, and is that allowed to be there? So it's this constant awareness of what is coming in, and knowing that whatever comes in, it's part of the session. So nothing can come up that you're like, oh no, not now. Let me do this session first. It's like, oh no, there's this curiosity of, oh, that's interesting. I feel all of this shame all of a sudden, or oh, that's interesting. I'm becoming super angry right now. And okay, and then I'm like, how does that sound? Even with tears, I notice whenever people start crying, which happens a lot during these sessions, that people just get so emotional. And I noticed that the tendency of people is to wipe their tears away as quickly as possible, try to swallow their tears, and then, trying to, like, really this sense of trying to compose myself to be able to do it right.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, sing your tears. And then I'm like playing the piano. I'm like, you can sing your tears. Whoa! And I'm, showing them how we can sing our tears. And then it starts to become funny too. Like the moment you start actually giving space to the sadness, it becomes funny. And I find that so symbolic as well, right? Like the moment that we don't look away, like the Buddhists always have that beautiful metaphor for the snake that is actually just a piece of rope, right? The moment that we look at the piece of rope and we see it's a snake, how we can't be afraid of it anymore, but we do have to look. And I feel it's the same with these emotions. The moment that we allow these emotions to be there and we give it space through our voice, then it just goes away. It dissolves into joy. We always start the workshops with completely cries and angry, and we always end it with people on the ground floor laughing, like we're just all in joy, and just that's what happens, I guess. Like when we allow it to come up, the world ends in laughter, not in sadness.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Totally. And we can learn. I mean, this offers the experience of living this way, living a life of joy and freedom, living it. And this is what it seems like you're really teaching people how to live an awakened life. Because as you bring the invitation for people to be present and aware, and not to block, not to leave anything out, not to leave the ego out. The ego, welcome, come in, be part of this. You're not. The ego is just an illusory image of the self that I have made. And
Exactly.
and you don't leave anything out, and
Yeah.
your way of offering that to your audience just allows them to not be limited, not be restricted, and then real healing can occur.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and I mean, the ego will join always, like
Of
whatever
course.
spiritual path we take, the ego is always like, okay, I'm in. You want to do a Course in Miracles? Great, I'm in. It always tries to hijack everything.
Yes.
So yeah, indeed, with voice liberation, we actually look at all the stuff. So yeah, it's really this thing where the course says, don't be afraid to look within. The ego always says it's a war zone there. It's black with guilt. Fear will strike you blind. Don't go within. But it says something interesting in that section as well, that the ego is saying this too often and too loud. Like it's actually covering over a deeper fear. And that's the fear of, what if you would look within and you would see no sin there? You would see
Yes.
no fear there. You would see no scary snakes and scary hell there. What if you would go within and you would find that there's really only love? And that's the real fear of the ego, because the ego knows that once we fully realize and accept that we're pure love, the ego can't exist anymore, because the ego is literally just the belief in fear and the belief in that we're not good enough and that we're guilty and that we're separated. So this is actually the real fear of the ego. And so with voice liberation, we really also gently, we do look within, and we do seek and find those barriers that we've placed against the love that we truly are. And bit by bit, with every sigh, with every sound, I find that a bit more of that ego layer is being sighed away and being expressed away. And what's underneath, yeah, is joy. It's just pure joy. So I noticed for myself, as I started doing this more and more, when I was recording the course, that was during the COVID time. I was recording this voice liberation course, and that whole process was just me waking up almost every day with some sort of a grievance, some sort of a tension. And I would just sit down behind the piano and would kind of feel like, okay, what is this tension about? Because I wanted to have the course have different themes for the session. So I have a whole index with different themes from like relationships, trust, forgiveness, anxiety, fear, all of these topics. So it was kind of, before I sat down behind the piano, I was kind of thinking of like, okay, what is the theme of the emotion I'm feeling right now? So it would be something about, okay, it's about anger. And then I would do a session, basically the spirit doing it with me. But it was so interesting because it felt like, we know time and space is an illusion, and everything already happened right here, right now. So I could feel that everyone who would ever do this session with me was right there. Like I could just feel all of them. It was such a crazy experience to feel that time and space was an illusion. I felt them there. They were with me in that moment, even though the course wasn't even done, it wasn't even, but in truth, it's all done, and I could feel it in a moment, like we were all there. And I was doing the session with all of everyone who will ever come there and who has already done it. And so every day I would just do these sessions with myself and with spirit and with apparently all these people that will one day, do the session. And I noticed, like, for me, it was just so healing. It was just so healing. My voice started to change too, and I started to dare to share myself more vulnerably, more authentically. I dare to show up. I dare to share and step into the light and share my truth more. I became more just joyful and light and more forgiving. So for me, just making that course alone was super helpful. And then to finally now share it as well with the world and to have people say, I think you saw maybe that one video of the woman that said that she's been to therapy for 30 years
Mm.
and this has helped her more than any of the therapy has ever done. And there was a woman recently who told me that, you know, she wanted to kill herself and that the voice liberation course actually, you know, helped her to release her suicidal thoughts. And to hear these type of uh, you know, comments on the work, it's like it really touches me and it motivates me to keep sharing this and to show people how easy it is. It's your own voice. It's your own voice. You don't have to be a singer to do this. It's so simple. So that's why I want to make it available for people. You know, I want to show them like, hey, this is actually your own voice. You can do this anywhere, anytime.
Mm.
It doesn't take some expensive trip or some this or that. Of course, you can come to my retreats or workshops, but there's so much stuff I have on YouTube that is for free. I have a free forgiveness meditation as well that they can download from my website. There's so much things for free as well, and it's really not hard actually to learn how to do this. So
Yeah. So if someone's watching or listening and they're just not happy. They don't know why they're not happy, or maybe they do know why. Maybe they have a grievance against a partner or a friend or a brother, sister, mother, child, the world, politics, anything. What
mhm.
would you be able to give like a short example? We have about 15 minutes left. Would you be able to give a short example of how this might be something that would be helpful to them?
Sure. Well, I can walk through it and then I'd say download I have a forgiveness meditation that is for free on my website. Then I also guide it with the piano and you hear my voice. So that's nice. I don't have my piano here right now, but I can talk you through a little bit with how it works or something that I would do in a situation like that. Which is first of all to allow yourself to feel it. Like I think, and I was definitely also one of those that really try to spiritually bypass whatever painful stuff I was feeling, or be like, oh, it's all love and light, and all the world or the world is an illusion, so you know, don't worry about it. Um, it doesn't work, right? It's an unworthy form of denial, as the Course in Miracles calls it. It doesn't work. So allow yourself to feel it. Give yourself space. You know, be kind to yourself. Don't come with this stuff of, oh, it's all an illusion. I'm not supposed to feel this way. That's what the ego does. And it actually does it again to not to withhold you from looking more deeply at the root cause of this problem. So after you've given yourself space to feel it, you know, and to be gentle with yourself and to just see, okay, what do I need in this moment? I always come to this point at some point where I'm like, okay, do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? And I can honestly feel like in the beginning, I just want to be right. It's just how it is. I can feel like, okay, there is this part that wants to be happy. But more so I actually want to be right. So until we come to this point where it's like, okay, no, really, I've suffered enough. And sometimes this can take weeks, months, years. Sometimes it can take seconds. And the more you practice, the sooner we get to seeing that there's no winning in being right. You know, that actually being right doesn't give us what we actually really want. So at the point where I'm like, okay, I really want to feel peace instead of this, and I'm ready to look at the true cause of my upset, which is always something else than what the ego is saying that it is. The ego is always pointing outwards and always saying, I'm upset because he did this, or the world did that, or this happened to me. And as A Course in Miracles is saying, I am never upset for the reason I think. There's always a different reason. And in prison, I often compared with salt in the wound. You know, it's like when we have a big wound and somebody throws salt in the wound, it's not the salt that is the cause of the stinging. You know, it's the wound. And now we can go and try, like I always say, like imagine if all people are just made of salt and you're just like covered in wounds. Like would you just go and try to like avoid all of the salt that is everywhere constantly, or would you actually look at yourself and say like, hey, what if I would heal these wounds? You know, then those salt shakers, they will just be like a nice scrub. They make your body, they exfoliate your body, and you will actually start to look nicer even, you know, when you allow them in. So it's that, like the thing that the ego is saying that is the cause of our upset, that's just the salt, that is just a trigger, that is never the true cause of our upset. So then we go deeper and I invite the spirit to look together with me. I close my eyes and I look at, okay, what is it that this situation is seemingly proving me? It's always a false belief that I have about myself or about the world. So let's say, for instance, there's this situation of, I don't know, it can be something in traffic, somebody's cutting you off and you feel this anger come up of like, oh, this asshole, he cut me off. And okay, the ego is saying, yeah, I'm upset because he cut me off and I'm right. Like this is unfair and he didn't treat me right. Now, if we come back to, okay, there's only one of us, there's only one mind. This person is actually not some other person. It's actually a part of you. And what is the true cause of my upset? And then I come to, what is the belief underneath this? And it can be, for instance, like, hey, this is actually proving me that I don't matter. You know, this is triggering that core belief inside of me that I just don't matter. Like, otherwise he wouldn't do that. He would give me space. He would, you know, just not cut me off. And this is some seeming small thing, but it can be with anything from, you know, your spouse cheating on you or somebody, you know, whatever it is. It always seems to prove something. And the most common false beliefs, so to say, I would say, are like, I'm not good enough, I don't belong, I'm all alone, I'm abandoned, I'm unsafe, I'm unsupported. And so together with the spirit, you can look at this belief and see that, okay, this is the true cause of my upset. And ultimately, it's A Course in Miracles teaching, the only true belief, like they're all coming down to the belief that I'm separated from God, and that was possible. And of course, it's not. Just like the wave cannot be separated from the ocean, we're always still one with God. But sometimes I find for myself, I don't know how it is for you, Bill, but for me, that like the belief, okay, I'm separated from God, it's a bit too abstract sometimes for me. So it helps. For me, I can more easily connect with the belief that I'm not good enough or that I'm unworthy. That's sometimes easier to be like, oh yeah, that is actually underneath this situation, and that's why this is hurting me. So the moment that you get that belief, what we do with voice liberation, what makes it even, I feel, more powerful is that we actually sound these beliefs. So we first sound the upset that is there. So this anger of somebody that is cutting me off. Okay, can I just give space to that with my voice? Whoa, okay, how does it sound? How does this anger, how does this frustration sound? And we give it full space with our voice. And then we dive deeper. Okay, what is the true belief that is underneath this, that is causing the pain? This belief in I'm unworthy, I don't matter. And then we go into that. How does that sound? Can you give sound to that? Can you release that? And then we imagine to really fully hand over this belief into the hands of the spirit, and we ask for it to be replaced by the truth. And so that's the final step. There's this beautiful Course in Miracles lesson as well that says, let all of my grievances be replaced by miracles. So that's what we do. We hand over these false beliefs with our voice. I really always say, like, imagine as if every tone is like a gift laid in the hands of the spirit, because for the spirit these false beliefs are gifts. Like whatever we all of these blocks, for the spirit they're gifts, because the spirit wants to replace them for the truth. The spirit is actually happy the moment you hand over these crazy beliefs and these dark thoughts and these untrue beliefs. So imagine just handing them all over through with your voice, putting them into the hands of spirits, having them be replaced. And then we just really open ourselves to have those grievances be replaced. And then I always say, let this be the purpose, let the purpose be of this situation to remember that you actually do matter, that you are worthy, that you are good enough, that you are still one with God, because it's always about what is the purpose. The ego's purpose for this situation was obviously to make you feel guilty and to make you believe that you're not good enough. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel good. Like one of my favorite course prayers starts with, I must have decided wrongly because I'm not at peace. So whenever I'm not at peace, it must mean that I've decided for the ego's interpretation of this situation, and that the ego is behind the steering wheel, and that I have the ego's purpose for this situation and this relationship. So now, so the ego is saying, like, for instance, always with my mom, why is it so difficult? She's always doing this, she's always doing that. Okay, it tells me that my purpose for this relationship is guilt. It's the ego is behind the steering wheel in this relationship. And through this true forgiveness practice, we give the relationship a new purpose. And we say, no, I want this relationship with my mother to have the purpose of remembering that I am innocent, that she is innocent. I want the purpose to be that I fully use this relationship to remember who I truly am and to remember who she truly is. Like, that's the worthy purpose of relationships. And we can do that. We can do this with anything, with our job, with our friendships, with whatever situation it is. We can check, like, what is the purpose that I have given this situation? And we know that if this relationship, if it brings up so much pain, it must mean that we've given it an ego purpose, and we can repurpose it and say, like, no, I don't want to use this for the purpose of guilt. I really want to use this for the purpose of remembering that I'm innocent. And that doesn't mean that it's then all butterflies and unicorns and that relationship won't trigger a lot of stuff. I mean, maybe even more so it will. Because, all of the unconscious stuff needs to come up to the surface. But if you set that purpose, it will be completely different, especially if you join with someone else as well, and you both have that same purpose for the relationship. But yeah, this is kind of the process that I do, and people can go to the website to have a guided meditation with that. And I play the piano, so you can really have some space to allow your voice to come up and out. And it's great. But even during the day, just notice how many times you're swallowing your emotions. Like, you feel some upset and you're swallowing them instead of feeling it and allowing it to be there. And I invite people, the first thing I teach people during the workshops is this voice liberation sigh. And that's something maybe we can still do right now. It's really just I call it an open mouther sigh. So we know this sigh of wariness, of the frown, clenched jaw sighs that really basically say, like, oh, you treat me so bad, and it's this sigh of resentment. But the voice liberation sigh is open, it's relaxed, it's spacious. It really says, hey, welcome to whatever I'm feeling, welcome. It gives space. So I invite people to inhale on whatever is present for them. So whether it's joy, but especially during the day, if you notice that there's some tension or something is coming up that doesn't feel so comfortable, inhale into that feeling, like inhale fully into it, and then exhale on whatever sound wants to come up and out. So we can try it now if you want to join me. So just take a
Okay.
moment and just become aware of like, hey, what's going on for me now? Like whether it's just peace or maybe there's some tension somewhere in your body, whatever it is, just notice it. And for people listening as well, just notice, how am I sitting here right now? And welcome it all. It doesn't have to be any way different, perfect as it is. And then I invite you to just inhale on whatever is present for you. Deeply inhale and exhale with an open mouth. Ah. Yeah, and we'll do it again. And now see if you can make a sound, like whatever wants to come up and out. Very relaxed, no strain. Open your jaw, open your mouth. So inhale on whatever is present. Yeah, and just let it out. And we'll do one more, and we'll do it with a little shake, so we get a little funky with it. So inhale. You just shake your body. Oh, yeah. And then, you can experiment with this, that on an exhale, you let out a tone, whatever tone feels good. But already, I think now you can feel like, oh, it feels so good. Doesn't it feel good? Like it feels so relieved. Like I do this all through the day and it's very contagious. Like the people around me, they're sighing all through the day as well, So this is something. Start sighing, and in like a big way. No, let's get rid of the frustrating sighs. Notice when you do, I sometimes still have this frustrating sigh, and I notice like, oh, that was a frustrating sigh, like clenched jaw, frown face,
Oh,
and then oh
yeah.
yeah, and then I try to remember. I'm like, oh no, let me do the voice liberation sigh, and then instantly it just feels so much better. So yeah, that's something I can really recommend, like let's stop pushing things down. Let's just take a moment and just be curious during the day. No, that's meditation, to just notice what's going on. You don't have to
Yeah.
just sit. You don't
Yes.
have to sit on a meditation pillow. Meditation for me is 24/7. It's all day, noticing what's
Yeah.
going on, what is coming in, and notice how we want to welcome the comfortable, good feelings. And it's like, oh, nice. And then the moment that these feelings that we judge as bad come in, it's like, oh, no, not those. And yeah, I really invite everyone that's listening that the moment that you notice these uncomfortable feelings to come in, inhale into them and sigh them out, and not even to get rid of them. No, don't use it as a
Yeah.
trick of like, oh, I'm going to
Yeah.
use this to get rid of them. Use
Exactly.
it to give space.
Yes.
And the cool side effect of giving space to something is that it will actually usually evaporate.
Yes.
um but it's really to just say like, hey, I see you, thank you for coming.
Welcome.
Okay, and notice, welcome, notice the discomfort. Is that allowed to be here right now? It won't be there forever, it's like the cloud. It will come and it will go again.
Yeah.
um yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Wow. All the power is in the noticing. All of the powder. All of
Exactly.
it is in the noticing without judgment and without wanting it to be different. Welcoming,
Mm-hmm.
noticing, and that's where presence is on the field.
Yep.
Awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
That was a nice, I like that little 5 minute session. That was fun and it was uh, liberating. When you were saying that, I was thinking, well, okay, what about where I pinched my finger and so hard I cut it? There was a little bit
Hmm.
of a ouch. Should I have gone, ouch? That would have been a totally different experience for me when I did that. And that's really what you're saying is invite those things to be okay. They happened. It happened.
Yeah.
Now invite it in and allow it to be part of the activity of what's happening without changing anything. And when you do that, it will dissipate into the nothingness that
Yeah.
the opposing belief gives words and phrases and memory to.
Yeah. Yeah, and the beautiful thing too with I feel the voice like it doesn't lie, you know, the voice. I'm thinking of this one session that I did in David Hoffmeister's retreat once in the monastery in Utah. There was a guy that he was sharing and he was singing about I want to trust, but you could just hear in his voice. There's actually a documentary made about this. They filmed it. It's called Take Me Home. A beautiful documentary, and you could just feel in his voice that it wasn't authentic. It wasn't true. He didn't want to trust. And I heard the spirit's voice saying, ask him to sing, I don't trust. And my first reaction was like, no, I can't say that. That's not spiritual. Like, I had these judgments about it. But it was so clear, ask him to sing, I don't trust. I was like, okay. So I told him, how does it feel for you to, sing I don't trust? And instantly his eyes, sparked wide open. And with so much passion, he started singing, I don't trust, and you could feel like, yes, this is true. This was true for him. He tried to be this spiritual, he was spiritually bypassing. Like he actually had this experience, like, no, I feel anger. I don't want to trust. I don't. And then the moment that he was allowed to share this freely and he allowed his voice to go there, it was just so much fun. We were going back and forth. I don't trust. I don't trust. No, I don't. No, I don't. And then came the space for, oh, but I want to trust. I do. I want to feel. I want to love. But then it was authentic. Then we could feel it. Then there were the tears. It's a beautiful scene. Yeah, so it's in this movie called Take Me Home. People can download it, I think, online through David Hoffmeister's website. But it's this, the voice doesn't lie, and it's so authentic. And the most beautiful thing I find too is that I rarely get people that actually are professional singers. And often people come to the workshops and say, oh, I have such a bad voice, I can't sing. And the moment that we sing, we express from this place of authenticity and from this place of really authentically and very naked, actually, allowing our emotions to be. The voice is so incredibly beautiful. Like I get goosebumps every time. I get tears in my eyes listening to them because I feel like it's art. Like we're all beautiful, right? Like without all the bullshit, without all the sort of the all the stuff that the ego
Yeah,
comes
the facade.
with. It
Yeah,
the facade, without the masks, there's just pure beauty,
yeah.
pure love. And the voice is reflecting that so beautifully that whenever there's this fake story, the voice, it doesn't sound good. You can feel like, I don't feel this. But the moment that they start singing from this place of truth, from raw anger, raw sadness, raw joy, raw whatever it is, but just pure, without a story around it, without, no, this is not allowed to be there. The moment that they share their voice from that space, it is freaking beautiful. And I get goosebumps and tears every time. And they themselves, I was giving a workshop in Florida on my summer tour, and everybody was just surprised. Like after already 15 minutes in the beginning of the session, they were all singing. And after we were done, everybody was like, "Oh my God, that sounded like angels." They themselves were saying about them. It felt like a choir of angels, and it was like that. It really is just amazing, and it shows to me, that who we truly are is just this pure beauty, this pure love, this pure joy. Um, and the voice is helping us to break through all of the stuff around it, like the clouds around the sun. And the voice can help us to break through those clouds so that this beautiful light, this sunshine can shine again, and we can feel the love and the joy. Yeah, my heart is just, I'm so excited about this. You can tell, like I'm just so happy to share it. So it's just something beautiful. And it's something I really hope people can get back in touch with again, because the voice it's so powerful, and it's something that most of us lost touch with. And like I said, we only used our voice as little kids, and then now maybe in the shower sometimes, or maybe secretly while driving and nobody can hear you. But yeah, it's yeah, there are very few people that dare to let out their voice still so freely as they used to do as little children. So
Yeah. Wow. Yeah,
yeah.
that was that was great. I like the story, and I can see where the voice does identify what's going on. It totally
Yeah.
goes to what's going on, and if you're listening, you can hear it,
Yeah.
and you're skilled at doing that. So you're pinpointing the potential uh, uh, hidden resistance in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Well, we've come to the end of our time for this broadcast, and this has been a full hour plus of your sharing and us getting to know what your teaching is, what the voice liberation experience is all about. And I welcome all of you that are listening or watching to visit Neda's website, nedaboin.com, and check out her free forgiveness meditation, and also visit her on YouTube and check out some of her beautiful sessions that are offered over there. And thank you for being here, Neda. It has been my joy, and I'm very happy to have you to be part of anything we do at the Teachers of God Foundation or
Um,
Pure Presence conferences. Thank you.
I really appreciate you, Bill. Thank you so much.